Scott, you there?
Hey, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. Hold on for a second. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the CLBA webinar series. We're excited to get 2026 campaign kicked off with everybody. We have a lot of great stuff going on this year, and can't wait to get today's webinar series kicked off. We're even more excited for our sponsor this year, which is RCN Capital. RCN is the leading nationwide wholesale lender for real estate investment. A little housekeeping on the CLBA side. We have our first workshop coming up in February. I'll have more information shortly, and I will also give you the place where you can go and sign up so you can attend the first workshop. We will be having one workshop per quarter going throughout the course of the year with some really great education topics going on. Our conference will be November 2nd through the 4th at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis. So we're excited to be bringing it to a different city this year, and we're looking forward to being able to move it around over the next couple of years coming up too. With that said, we have Dana Malley from Harvest. He's going to be our first presenter this afternoon. Dana is just going to be talking to you guys. The webinar series will be recorded, so if you guys want a copy of the recording, shoot me a text message with your email. I'll make sure that you guys get the copy of it so you can re-listen to it or hear whatever Dana has to share with you guys this afternoon. Dana, other than that, sir, I'm going to kind of turn this over to you and, welcome. Happy New Year. I'm glad to have you back with us this year.
Great. Thank you, Scott, and Happy New Year to everybody that's on the call. For decades, small and medium-sized business owners have faced a frustrating paradox. They build profitable companies, create jobs, and anchor local economies, yet remain locked out of property ownership. While large institutional investors accumulate commercial real estate at scale, many entrepreneurs continue paying rent year after year, transferring wealth to a landlord instead of building it for their own families. Well, we're here to talk about engineering ownership, creating renters into property owners, turning rent into legacy assets, and connecting Main Street to Wall Street. Welcome, everybody. Dana Thomas Malley. I'm with a company called Harvest Small Business Finance, and I want to thank Scott and CLBA and RCN Capital for this afternoon's series webinar. I have a nice little agenda I want to get started with. I'll just review that, and then we'll get into some talking points. My agenda for today is to set realistic and ambitious 2026 production goals, which I'm going to share with you. I want to share how you on the call today can earn significantly by leveraging SBA financing opportunities throughout your local communities. How my team and I can onboard a new SBA 7A loan package and close in approximately 30 days. I want to give an overview of lending capacity, starting from 250,000 and going up to 25 million. That's right, I said 25 million, everybody out there. How institutional capital, including the Blackstone Forward Flow Partnership, supports consistent execution, bringing Main Street to Wall Street. Just want to go over lessons of a perspective from a recent transaction that we closed, highlighting the flexibility of SBA-backed financing. And maybe we'll talk about some articles. We'll see how much time we get here this afternoon. So I was hoping the seminar would be a little interactive. Scott, can anybody talk or just ask questions? How does that work so I understand what the audience may be looking for?
Yeah, if a question pops up on the screen, I can certainly bring them in to ask the question directly with you so you guys can work through that.
Okay, great. Before I get started, everything that I say today, the comments and opinions are my own, not that of my company that I work for. So nothing I'm talking about today is an opinion of Harvest Small Business Finance and/or Harvest Commercial Capital. Now that I got that out of the way, I'm glad to start. So
I love that. That was amazing. Little disclaimer there, folks.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to start. We have goals as a company. Most of you on the call are probably self-employed mortgage people that originate commercial loans. That's why you're on the call. That's why you're looking to get involved in this business, or maybe you're in the business for a long period of time. So I know I'm a big goal setter, and that's the first thing I do late December is start writing down my goals for the next year. Of course, the company has goals for us, which that's an internal thing. But my goals this year for 2026 is to close $50 million in transactions I'll repeat that number, 50 million. Again, we're in the SBA world where we do loans from anywhere from 250,000 upwards of 25 million. So hopefully I hit my goal mid-year, and then we keep on going from there. So I thought if anybody wanted to share what their goals are and what they want to talk about, what you want to accomplish this year, sharing experience is good for everybody. I know some people don't like to talk about that, but I was that way before too. Now I share everything because ultimately that's what it's about. If you talk about it, think about it, it happens. And my goal for 2026 is not only a $50 million goal, but it's about bringing capital to Main Street. It's about helping small business owners achieve and reach their goals of property ownership. So each and every time we close a transaction with a business owner, we're creating opportunities, not only for that business owner, but for the employees of that company. Think about this, their paycheck from each time from the company enables them to spend money from the grocery store to the gas station to the home improvement center. So it feeds a lot of people. It feeds a lot of things, and locally throughout the your economy, those are big drivers. Purchasing of real estate, business ownership, those are huge, huge, huge. Does anybody want to share a goal that they might have out there? Anybody? All right.
Nothing
Well,
on the board yet. If it pops up, I'll share it with you, or I'll bring them on to
thanks,
share that with
Scott.
you.
I kind of
Yes,
figured
sir.
that was a tough one. Most people aren't going to want to participate in what their goals are. But again, think about it. If you don't talk about it, you don't share it, it doesn't happen. If you haven't written it down, you need to do that. Okay, enough on the rah-rah goals. Okay, let's talk a little bit how you as individuals can earn by leveraging SBA financing opportunities. So a lot of times somebody will get on the phone and they'll have a conversation with me and they'll say, well, I don't know what a good SBA opportunity is. What should I look for? Where are they at? And I always say this very, very simple answer. Think about this. When was the last time you drove down Main Street and you looked around, right? You're driving in your car and you're looking around, stay off that phone, you're looking around, and to the left is a gas station, to the right's a small little strip mall, in there there's a condo. There's a jewelry store, a retail clothing store, maybe a convenience store. Go a little further down the street, there's a warehouse. A little further down the street, you may see an office building with a doctor's office or a veterinary clinic. A little further down the street, you may see a retail strip center with all kinds of things, GameStop, things of that nature. Those buildings are all small business 7A 504 opportunities for you to go out and earn dollars and cents by bringing capital to those small business owners. Each one of those small business owners may either want to own or own that property, maybe a chance for a purchase, maybe a chance for a refinance. So there are tons of opportunities out there all around us. Just drive around and look. I mean, every time I get a call, it's another opportunity of a building. Somebody said, will you do an event space? Will you do car wash? The answer to the above is yes, yes, and yes. So those are all good golden opportunities as you're out there in your local community. As a lender and as a national lender, I do a large portion of my business with the broker base. So I rely on you, the broker, to be in the local community, have your nose to the grindstone, listening to what's going on, going to local chamber meetings, going to local networking events, and finding opportunities. So there are a lot of SBA opportunities out there. The other thing is a lot of people are unaware that you can get paid. Yes, that's correct. You can get paid by bringing SBA opportunities into my shop. So that's it. We want to partner with you. We want you to earn. We want your business owner to also have access to capital and be able to purchase that real estate. So that's very, very important. So you can earn. The
Hey,
other thing
Dana,
yes, Scott.
I had two people that shared some goals. I'm going to bring them on for you so you can chat with them.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Hey, Melissa, are you out there? You're on self-mute.
There we go.
There you
Hi.
go.
Hi, Dana.
Hello.
How are you?
It's Melissa Vine. We met at CLBA conference. So
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
I'm good, good. So I've got a couple of goals. I've got an $85 million deal that's they're about to sign on. And so one of my goals is to close that one. And then I would also like to hire someone to do my SBA deals so I can focus on some of the larger commercial real estate. So just kind of adjusting, making some adjustments so I can scale more quickly and be able to take on more clients because I can't keep up with all the business that's coming in. So I just want to scale in a way that makes sense and is the most helpful.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Melissa. Obviously, 85 million, that's a little larger than the SBA goes up to, but that's a great goal. Hopefully, you've got some opportunities to get that placed in the marketplace. And that's what CLB brings to everybody, right? It's an organization. If you went to the trade show that we recently had in the fall, there's all kinds of lenders there, from small little loans to very large loans, from owner occupied to investment real estate. There was equipment financing, there was working capital. There might have been some things I missed there. Obviously, there's some bridge loan lending also. So there's a lot of opportunity in that room, and a lot of those people can supply the capital that Melissa's going to need for her project. So Melissa, good luck with that. Thanks for sharing your goal on that one. Adding help, that's a big thing we hear a lot. Where people get a lot of opportunities to come in. How do you focus in on the opportunity? What do you need to do to get that opportunity? Melissa, I'll just share with you, I always say to the brokers that do business with us, look, at the end of the day, we're looking for the documentation, right? The biggest thing we need to get is the paperwork in the door. So if we can get in the financials, the tax returns, things of that nature, get a good idea what the borrower wants to do, who, what, when, and where, the simple things, that helps. And then you can actually, do an introduction, get on a call, and then move on, Melissa. So what happens is you turn a borrower over to myself and my team, and then we're working with that borrower to accumulate the balance of the paperwork, get the applications completed, filled out, and get them into our processing center. So we can eliminate some of that, and we are here to help to do that. So that, Melissa, that's a great question. And thanks for sharing your goals, because I find most people don't want to share them. Scott,
Well,
you said someone else?
it's easier to make it happen if you say it out loud, right? Because then people can hold you accountable to it.
Exactly. So Melissa, you and I now know each other's goals, so we can talk about holding each other accountable, right? All right.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Okay, good.
Hey, Melissa, thank you for the CLBA plug. I'll send you a check next week.
Hey, I've been plugging you all over the place, so.
I appreciate that. I know I've got a lot of phone calls, and I appreciate that. I have one more for you, Dana. Hold on for a second.
Sure.
Taylor, where are you? Taylor, there you are. There you go, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Scott. Dana, thanks for the intro here. And Melissa, those are some ambitious goals. So wish you the best of luck here going into 2026. Love to hear that energy. In terms of my question and really the goals that we have, Dana, for this year. So I represent Big Thing Capital. We are a small business financing marketplace. So we offer a variety of products, and the SBA in particular is an area that we're looking to continue to expand. Really, our goal on that side of the house is to try to generate more qualified SBA leads. Oftentimes, we want to place potential borrowers into that product, but unfortunately, we're just not seeing the volume that we want to see. A lot of it is more lower ticket deals, or they're looking for financing that just simply wouldn't fit the SBA box. So yeah, that's really one of our goals around this topic, and we're really eager to kind of gain some industry insights from that.
Great, Taylor. Thanks for sharing the goals. I appreciate that. One of the things, Taylor, I'd say, which would help you, which would help the customers that are, visiting your site, was to get with the SBA people that you want to do loans with. If my company happens to be one of them, that's great. We can start to talk about what we can and can't do. How far low down we can go for credit score, what debt service ratios, what industries we look for, what types of transactions we look for, and how we structure and things of that nature. So it's always a learning curve, and I think that might help you broadcast out to your partners out there, to getting more opportunities in the certain spaces, right? SBA is a huge world out there, and you can do everything from a refinance, a working capital, business acquisition, purchase of real estate, refinance, partner buyout. There's so many variables. Equipment financing. There's a lot. It's like a grocery bag, right? It's full of
Right.
available loan products. So it's hard to have them all, but I think if you have partners that have everybody specializes in something different, right? The SBA platform allows all of us to be equal opportunity lenders, but certain lenders specialize in certain assets, and finding that out is a big thing, and see who can do what for you and your customers is a big thing. So we can talk further as the year moves on, and those are interesting goals for everybody.
Awesome, Dana. Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much for the feedback.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And thanks for sharing. I know it's rough, but like as Melissa said, if you don't talk about it, it's not a real goal. So thank you
Of
for
course,
that.
I'm talking it into existence as we sit here. So no, thanks again,
Love it.
Dana.
I hear you. I get up every morning, and the first thing I do is
Yeah.
before I look on my phone. They say it's the worst thing in the world to do. So I do get a
Right.
notepad together, drink some water while I'm making my coffee, and I write down the things I want to accomplish for the day, and I start with my goal and go from there. So it
There you
helps to
go.
cement it. I'm not a motivational speaker, but at the end of the day, it's all about staying positive and reflecting.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Was there any questions on how you can earn an SBA financing opportunities? Anybody have any questions?
No, those are the only couple of things that came in, so I'll let you go
Okay.
right ahead, sir.
Great, Scott. Thanks. So the other thing I want to share with everybody, the SBA, so if you look at what we do, we're real estate lenders. So, what do we do real well? Real estate, real estate, real estate. I know that sounds boring and some people think it's not really sexy, but at the end of the day, it's about creating wealth through ownership. That's, what we look to do every single day. And we leverage 3 different programs, 2 SBA programs and a conventional program to do that. And we leverage the SBA 7A program, we leverage the SBA 504 program, and we leverage a conventional program that we have. All 3 of those programs, as a broker bringing deals and belonging to the CLBA, you're eligible to earn fees on each one of those opportunities. So as business owners, each one of you are out there who are business owners, you could be looking at SBA 7A, SBA 504, and the conventional loan products that we have in our set. And like many of our other partners that are out here with the CLBA, they do offer opportunities to earn and commissions. I do know there was a lot of talk, especially when I was at the event in the fall, that 504 you couldn't earn a fee on. So I'm here to change that and to say, yes, you can earn a fee on 504 opportunities. So what does that do for you as a mortgage broker? It opens up the space. It opens up larger transactions. With the new proposal going into place where the SBA can go to 10 million, we can look at opportunities up to $25 million for owner occupied, owner user. That's enormous. Prior to this, we were really 10 or 12 or maybe 15 million cap. Now we're up to 25. So that opens up a lot of opportunities. I also think that moving forward with this rising of what the SBA cap is going to be, which I'll talk about in a second, you're going to find a lot of the local lenders not willing to do that because you're going from small business to middle market lending. And there's a big gap and there's a big jump in that. We're going to embrace it. So, there's some really, really good opportunities. So I want to share with you, if you have a 504 opportunity, I've been talking to a lot of brokers that went to the seminar in the fall about 504 opportunities. There's an opportunity to earn there. So you can earn on 504. So everybody knows you can earn on 7A, I would imagine, on this call, but you can earn on 7A, 504, and we also have a conventional loan product, which you can earn on, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But what I want to share and get back to was the SBA. There's a lot of conversation about the SBA cap going up. Right now, the SBA cap is $5 million. And there's a lot of discussion that may go up to 7.5 and may go as high as 10 million. And right now they're looking at manufacturing to follow along with what the federal government's trying to do is to increase manufacturing here stateside for local business owners. So they're engaging to get that cap up to, we're hoping $10 million is what we hear. There's a lot of different numbers out there. I recently talked to some SBA reps and they said, look, like everything we roll out, it'll be clumsy. It'll be for manufacturers. And then shortly thereafter, it will be an equal opportunity for every business and every industry out there. Because that's the fair way to do it. But the SBA was designed to do loans or guaranteed loans for small business owners, right? It's not supposed to discriminate. So very important aspect there. So those are great opportunities. On the 504 side, we act as the conventional lender. I know that sounds a little strange, a little kooky. On the SBA 7A side, we're the SBA lender, but on the 504 side, we become the conventional lender. And anybody who's done a 504 or not done a 504, does anybody know what 504 stands for? Any answers out there? All right, so I'll move on. Scott, I don't see any questions there, right?
Yeah, I don't see anything pop.
Okay.
504 CRE. Somebody typed in CRE.
Okay, commercial real estate. Well, there you go. That's not a wrong answer. That's correct. 504 is used for commercial real estate. But 504, I didn't understand why it was 504, but it really stands for 50, 40, 10, right? So if you think about it, if you take a project of $100,000, the business owner comes in with 10%, which I guess is the zero. The CDC through an SBA debenture gives 40%. And then a conventional lender comes in and gives 50%. So it's 50, 40, 10, thus 504. It should have been 540, but I don't know. I don't know who put that up. It's 504 though, but that's where that comes from. So essentially, if you get an idea on commercial owner occupied real estate, you can go with the little as 10% down on the purchase price. So that's significant as far as that's concerned. The other thing I want to bring up that we do conventional financing for owner occupied, and then sometimes we have what we call fallout, where a transaction doesn't fit the box of an SBA because of SBA rules, and we'll look at it conventionally. So that gives borrowers an opportunity. A lot of times we see a borrower just miss with certain rules. For an example, 51% of occupancy in a space has to be for the business owner who's buying the building. If they miss with that, we can certainly look at an alternative program through our conventional lending programs. So that gives a good idea. All right, I want to move on to my next agenda item. If any questions on what I just talked about?
Nothing popped up yet. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you, Scott. The next agenda item that I sent out was how my team and I can onboard a new SBA 7A client, close in approximately 30 days, provided a complete borrower package. So let me just share a success story, because I think we all learn from hearing, and from hearing experiences is how we engage and what we look for. I have a business owner who lives, I'm going to do a Northeast deal now, who lives in Connecticut, works in New York City, and was buying a building in Westchester. So if you looked at a map, he went from Connecticut to Westchester to New York City. That's how he would drive in to get into New York City. And this particular transaction went out to a major lending institution, which obviously I can't name on the call. And they looked at the transaction. Transaction size was upwards of $2 million. The borrower had been in business many, many years. The borrower had great credit, over 700 score, wanted to put 10% down, preserving his capital. Cash flow, really, really important. So he hit a lot of the buttons, if you think about it. A traditional lender with an SBA guarantee probably should have done. However, this particular lender looked at the opportunity and said, I don't understand this. A borrower lives in one state. He's going to buy a warehouse in a county that's not even next, or it's actually next to where he does all his business. In other words, this borrower works all his businesses in New York City. He was buying a warehouse in the neighboring suburb of Westchester, and he lived in Connecticut. And the underwriter turned down the deal. Frustrated, the broker came to me and said, listen, I've got all the pieces. I've got all the deal. The deal's been in this major lending institution for a couple of weeks. They turned it down. Our borrower needs to close. What can you do? So we had a full package, which was very good, very helpful, very thankful. We took that transaction in on the 18th of November, and on the 25th, we issued a commitment, and we were off to the races with title, environmental survey, and appraisal reports, and close very quickly. So that gives you an idea. Things can happen very quickly. We're a non-bank lender. So if you think about what does that mean, right? So that means we don't require a business banking relationship with a borrower. So this borrower that I just talked about can remain active with his local bank. Even though they didn't do the loan for him, he doesn't need to move his checking account, savings account, payroll accounts, things of that nature. So as a non-bank lender, we're in this industry to close real estate transactions. I cannot stress that enough. If you think about it, we are just like you, the broker out there. We do not get paid until the loan closes, just like you. No one gets paid. So ultimately, we're in this together. I always say to the brokers that I do business with and to our borrowers, it's a partnership. There are no questions that we can't answer. There are no things we can't work on. We work together to get things done. But in this instance, if you think about it, my boss always says this, he says, hopefully you get up in the morning and after you do your notes and have your coffee, I hope you put your track shoes on. So every morning we start with our track shoes and we're off and running. So as a non-bank lender, the only way we can earn any dollars and cents is to close loans. There are no other fees for us to collect. So we're on the same side as you. So that's important. And you can understand that, by the way, that's not the first time we've done a deal in 30 days. We've done a 504 in 30 days also. They're a little more complicated, but the deal was set up and we had the opportunity to, we had an SBA approval on that already. So, but if there's any questions on that, I went fairly quickly. Anybody have any questions?
Nothing's come through yet.
Okay, great. All right, the next topic I have a brief agenda is an overview of lending capacity. We talk loan size 250 up to 25 million. So on the 504 piece, because the SBA is going to go eventually to $10 million, if the way the equation works out, we could go almost up to $25 million for an owner-occupied commercial piece of real estate. So if you're going to be out there looking for transactions, it's the same amount of work putting together a $250,000 deal as it is a $25 million deal. And sometimes it's almost easier to put the bigger deals together. I've had a lot of brokers call me and say to me, those numbers, they make my head spin. I'm not sure what to do. It changes everything. Well, a lot of times what we see on our end, the larger transactions, we have controllers in the company. And after the owner decides to go forward with a transaction, they usually say to the controller, get Mr. Malley everything you need so we can get this loan closed. So it actually becomes easier to collect the documents and get the right documents and what we need because the controller knows it and they give us what we need. So the larger deals sometimes actually are easier, not harder. I know that's hard to believe, but that's really the reality of it all. I spent probably 15 minutes yesterday with a broker and a borrower talking about like profit and loss and balance sheet, and the borrower's totally confused about it, and that's on the $600,000 deal. So we're happy to do them from all sizes. But as a brokerage community, if you can start to look at larger transactions, you earn larger fees, and those loans do eventually close. I know Melissa's looking at that an $85 million deal, which wouldn't qualify for SBA. It's too large. But Melissa's going upstream. Good for you, Melissa. That's the way to earn. So go from there. Okay. Any questions on that?
No, go right ahead, sir.
Okay, great. So I don't know if most of you have heard, but we recently got a commitment from Blackstone for a $1 billion forward commitment for next year, for this year, for 2026. So what we're doing is we're bringing Wall Street to Main Street. We have access to a huge amount of capital at our shop. And what's going to happen is that it's a partnership. It's not a buyout. So we're gaining access to capital and more of it. So that's all that really means, so that we have the capital that we need, especially on our 504 transactions. As the numbers climb and climb and climb, we have the ability to fund larger transactions, and that's so important. What we do here is that we pre-flight every one of our opportunities. And what does that mean? We bring in an opportunity, we talk to you, we talk to the owner, we gather the documentation, we do our little research that we need to do, and then we bring it into our credit shop to make sure that we can do it. We get a thumbs up, thumbs down, or we need some additions. If we get a thumbs up, we're issuing a term sheet. We're at 95% ratio of closing those deals. Let me repeat that, 95% ratio of closing a deal once we issue a term sheet. That's strong and that's powerful. And as a broker, you're now partnering with somebody that not only is going to take charge of that deal, put on their track shoes, service the customer, provide the tools, expert guidance, and capital to get that loan closed. So that's a great partnership when you think about it. So ultimately, we've got plenty of capital for the larger deals, and we are embracing the larger opportunities that are about to happen for all of us this coming year. A lot of times, I know Taylor, you had asked this question too, like, where are the opportunities? I mentioned this when I spoke at the CLBA when we were on the panel, but each one of the brokers on this call today, you live in a local community. We talked about driving down Main Street and looking for those buildings. Where do you find the opportunities? So, I grew up in a suburb of New York City, and I worked there for years and years and years. And we had a bank called Bank of New York. And I remember Bank of New York had a branch on every single corner. And I eventually worked with the Bank of New York to gain opportunities. What do I mean by that? They were having marketing dollars. They were the powerhouse. They were at every networking meeting, any golf outing, every charity event, all the chambers. Bank of New York went there. They were the biggest sponsor, the biggest person in the room. Yet they looked at the most amount of opportunities from the small business community. And the ones that they couldn't do, they were looking for brokers to place those loans at another place that was not in competition with the Bank of New York so their customers could be satisfied. So, what I'm really getting at here is today, there are great opportunities. I'm a national broker. I have a seat. I sit somewhere. We can only touch so many people. We need you to go out and find more opportunities in your local business community. Meet with your bankers, have breakfast, have lunch, go to webinars or go to chamber events, go to networking events, go to charity events. You will get business opportunities from those bankers because they are looking at tremendous amount of opportunities. They probably look at 10 deals a week. They can only do 2 to 3 of those deals. Let me repeat that. They can only do 2 to 3 out of 10 deals. That's 70% of the looks that they get, they can't do. I'm not saying everybody's financeable, but those are golden opportunities for you. And if you've connected with the CLBA here and the lenders in the room, you can probably get, I'd say, a good half of those loans placed with some of your partners in the CLB organization. So there are a great amount of opportunities right there without spending lots of dollars in marketing expense, just by rubbing shoulders and elbows with people um, in your local community. Any questions on that?
No, go right ahead, sir.
Okay, great. So the next thing I wrote down is lessons of perspective from a recent. So I recently closed a very large 504 deal in New York. It's a historic Bedford Post Inn. Some of you might have seen it. We posted it on LinkedIn. Um, and that opportunity was up there. It was in the $15 million range, and I'll just range the numbers there. But it goes to show you that, when opportunities come in and we talk about different things, and we had lots of different revenue streams on this business to take a look at, but it shows you what the flexibility of an SBA-backed financing can do. We had a group in there running the inn that wanted to buy it, had an opportunity to buy it, and we were able to provide the financing through a 504 program. So we did a partnership with the CDC, the Certified Development Company in New York, and Harvest to close that transaction and put all the parties together. So it goes to show you that, working with local communities and what we can do to bring capital to the marketplace. Um, that was a huge event for us, and that closed late December. So very exciting times for everybody. Any questions on that?
No,
No.
nothing on the board yet.
Okay.
Go right ahead, sir.
I purposely today didn't want to bring up some of the SBA changes, right? So there's lots of changes and they go on every single day. And everybody always says to me, why don't you do this? And why don't you do this in addition to SBA? Well, the SBA changes a lot and there's a lot of rule changes, some good, some bad, but we have to live by the rules, right? So ultimately they change a lot. I didn't want to get into that with everybody on the call today, and I'm going to tell you why. As brokers, I think what you need to do is you just need to partner with people who know what they're doing, who will guide you. You don't need to know every rule and regulation. What you need to know is that, hey, I'm driving down the street. It's owner occupied commercial real estate. I'm going to call Danny Thomas Malley. He's going to let me know if I can do that deal or not. Those are the opportunities that are out there, right? Because as brokers, you're supposed to bring a deal in, then get on the phone, worry about structuring. Don't always worry about structuring a deal in the beginning. Get the documentation and say, I've got a lender we can talk to. Let's get on a call. Let's talk about it. The brokers that are most successful bring their borrowers into play sooner than later. The sooner that transition happens and we start talking to the business owner, the better it is for all the parties as far as that's concerned. Let not me and my team worry about structuring a deal, the SBA rules, whether we can do this and we can do that. Those are all different things. The other thing I'll tell you that a lot of brokers stay away from doctor business. And they always say, well, every bank does every doctor deal. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not really true. Um, a good portion of my financing this year has been doctor transactions, and doctors too have lots of issues and problems like the rest of us. They're not immune to any of that. So those are golden opportunities out there. Don't assume because it's a doctor's office or it's a doctor's office you go to, or a pediatrician or a dentist or a vet, they're doing okay with their local banks. They may not be. So those could be some really, really good opportunities as far as that's concerned. So just to give you an idea, those opportunities could bring a lot of dollars and cents to you as the small brokerage companies out there in America. Any other questions?
I do not have any other questions. Nothing actually has popped up on the board yet. So,
Okay. Scott,
I
how
think
many people do we have on the
good
call?
here. We have 38 people on the call.
Okay, great. So I'm going to wrap it up because I know I'm pretty close to being on my time crunch as far as that's concerned, and you have another partner that
Okay.
wants to go from there. But look, at the end of the day, let me wrap it up this way. I have lots and lots of experience. I'm here to partner with you, whether you're new in the business, experienced in the business. Either or, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I have lots of patience. My goal is to help small business owners in each and every economy they work in. We have the tools, we have the expert guidance, and we have the capital as a direct lender. So those are all beneficial to you as brokers in the CLBA community. And with that, if we have no other
I did have
questions,
one question that,
okay.
yeah, one did pop up. Will you guys do 7A without real estate for working capital?
Yeah, that's really not my expertise, and there's some other people in the room that were doing that. So I'll let somebody else work that for you.
Okay, let's see. How do you approach startups that might not cash flow for the first year?
Oh, great question. Thank you for whoever asked that. So we do look at startups. We give startups a golden opportunity. We approach it where, what's the business owner want to do? Do they have any experience, right? That's a big thing. A lot of times we get business owners who get an idea and they just want to go into business. Do they have any idea what they want to do? Do they have any experience? Have they worked in that industry or not worked in that industry? Then obviously we're looking at deals that are non-cash flowing, so it's a projection-based opportunity. And those opportunities, we can go on an SBA 7A as high as 90% financing. We typically like to stay between 85 and 90 as far as that's concerned. But we will look at those opportunities and give everybody a fair shake at that. We would like a little bit of stronger credit. We'd like to see some capital behind them. Capital could come in the way of, cash, stocks, bonds, gifts, things of that nature, sometimes real estate. But we will look to structure those transactions and we embrace them. That
Perfect.
answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. What is what's your standard broker compensation?
Well, that's a great question. So there's not really a standard. What we like to stick around to is 1%. We have
Okay.
brokers that are earning more premium than 1% by bringing in more comprehensive packages and volume, right? Only way I'm going to get to my goal is to hit more volume, and more volume means more opportunities. So we certainly can talk about that and structure a compensation package to each individual brokerage out on the call.
Perfect. Excellent. And then standard documents that are required.
That's a great question. So the first thing I will tell you is that I will not hand an applicant, a stack of pages to go fill out and say, call me in a week. We do it the opposite here, but we do collect documentation. Usually it's 3+3, 3 years of corporate returns, 3 years of personal, year-to-date financial statement, and that would include an income statement, balance sheet, and a business debt schedule. So those things are important. If you have an idea of your borrower's credit score, he or she can go on Experian and find out what it is before we have to pull it. That's very helpful. Personal financial statement. And then the big thing, ultimately I got a transaction in about 20 minutes before we got on the call here today in the $6 million range. And, I get tax returns and financial statements and personal stuff and a personal financial statement and a credit score and all that stuff. And I didn't have any sources and uses. So, if you have an idea what the borrower wants to do, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Even if you had something on the back of a napkin, you said to the borrower, okay, I want to buy a building at $6 million. I want to put down, 15%. I want to finance the rest, just to give us an idea what they want to do. I work well with timelines and understanding them, but we do send out a comprehensive checklist, which you can work off of, which makes life a lot easier, and you can share it with the borrower. But, those are some of the items that we look at. So just an idea what, I'm not asking for a business plan. I'm looking for just an idea what they want to do with the money. Is it construction, non-construction, buying real estate, buying a partner out of real estate, things of that nature. Very, very important. It's just helpful as we look at it. So when I come back to you and say, okay, listen, I have all this. I need a couple more items now. I understand what you want to do. This is something we can do. Let's talk about structuring it.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Dana, we're right at 3:45. I know I have my next lender on deck. So guys, I'm going to send this recording out for Dana. If you need Dana's contact information, let me know. I'll make sure I get that out to everybody also. But I've known Dana for a very long time, and he does have a lot of patience. He's willing to teach and work with you guys and teach what you need to know on the 7A side and the 504 side too. So, I suggest you use him for your SBA financing needs.
Scott, thank you,
my friend. I
everybody out
appreciate
there.
you.
Thank you much. Happy New Year, and let's go get our goals.
Yeah, Dana, let's catch up later in the week just to catch up. I haven't chatted with you in a long time.
All right, sounds good, Scott. Thanks.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. All right, let's see. Mr. Baker, Bob Baker, Brock Baker, how are you, gentlemen?
Doing great. How are you?
I am well. So it's the Robert or Bob and Brock from Baker Garrington. They're our next presenters. Bob, are you going to be presenting, or is Brock going to be presenting?
It'll actually be Tammy and I. I don't see her on the list where my name is.
Yeah, I don't see her on the screen yet.
Okay. Well, I can run with it until she joins, but I believe you've got me today.
Yeah. Do you want me to share my screen with you? Do you have the presentation?
Brock does, and I believe he'll share.
Okay. All right. Hold on for 1 second. Brock, I'm sending it to you right now.
The IT part.
I'm sorry?
I said I just have to have Brock here to handle the IT part.
No problem. There we go. There we go. How are you guys doing? I haven't chatted with you gentlemen in a while.
It's been good. It's been really good. We're only
you guys have a good Christmas and a good New Year's?
We're only 13 days into 26, and looks like a new year already. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Hey, I might have a gas and oil thing for you. As soon as I get more information, let's chat.
Sounds good.
All right,
Brock,
gentlemen, you know what? The floor is all yours.
Brock, are you going to share the presentation?
Is it not on the presentation?
I have a beautiful scene of mountains and some driftwood and some water.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
I have multiple screens open, so bear with me. There we go.
Well, I do not see Tammy yet, so I will just get started. I see we have 36 people attending. Welcome to all of you. Oh. There's Tammy. She's joining us. Wonderful.
There she is. Oh, there she is. Right, hey, Tammy. You're on self-mute. Oh, there she is. Hi, Tammy.
My apologies. I had to download the GoTo webinar. It took longer than
Oh, you're all good.
expected.
We have the whole team here, so I'm going to sit back and let you guys do your thing. If any questions pop up on the board, I'll make sure I politely interrupt and bring them in so y'all can answer them.
Thanks, Scott. Now we have Tammy, so I'll jump in and get started. Welcome to the 36 people that I see we have with us. It's a pleasure to see you again, not literally, but to have you here and be together. It's great to see you right away in 2026 and be able to visit. As a quick introduction, I'm Bob Baker, and I'm a partner and an owner in Baker Garrington. Tammy Kemp is our president and chief credit officer. She's also very humble because she is one of my partners as well. So having said that, what we're going to visit about a little bit today is what we saw in the market in 25, kind of how that relates to where we're headed in 26, both from a good standpoint and the negativity that was out there, and we feel that most of the world is moving on. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tammy and let her visit a little bit on our next slide about 25.
Great, thank you, Bob. So I think, I imagine many of you sort of saw and felt many of the same things that we saw. We felt that 2025 for our business, and that's both on the factoring as well as on asset-based lending opportunities, that the first half of the year was strong. We had very full pipelines, lots of varied opportunities. We were seeing generally a lot of activity and transactions happening in the market, and that goes, luckily for ourselves and also for our friendly competitors. Certainly in the feedback that we have opportunities to have discussions with competitors, generally through our associations, we were hearing that everybody was busy and seeing a lot of trade and activity. Unfortunately, that momentum didn't really carry through for the entirety of 2025. In that second half of the year, early, sort of end of May into June and July, we were hearing a lot of feedback from others in the space that they had seen a contraction in pipelines. There was not as much deal activity happening. Closings were taking a lot longer than they had been previous to that. So a real slowing down and contraction in the marketplace, I think, was really what we were seeing through that second half of the year. And I think that really is just a function of some of that economic uncertainty that led into 2025 that really started to take root. People who were maybe coming into the year thinking that they would maybe make a change in a lender, maybe take on new business, maybe make some other sort of larger, more impactful business decisions, saw some of the upheaval, some of the uncertainty, and just maybe pulled back and decided to kind of take that wait and see mentality and not do anything particularly drastic. We called it a hunkered down mentality, where people thought, I can control, or I can feel okay about where I am right now. But I don't know what the next month or the next 6 months hold. So I think I'm just going to like I say, take that wait and see approach to things, which really resulted in a much slower deal environment. Maybe a lot of lenders who had pulled back from certain sectors. We'd seen that certainly in the oil and gas and transportation space, where lenders were also maybe taking the view of wait and see. So as brokers, maybe you had less options for landing the deals that you had in your pipeline, and maybe you were hearing from some of your clients that they were not going to do some of the things that maybe they had planned to do coming into the end of 24 and into 25, and that optimism about opportunities kind of stagnated and slowed down. So I think that sort of talks a little bit about what we were seeing coming into the end of 25. If I start to think about what 26 might look like, you know, I think for us, and maybe just because we're have a strong, you know, an optimistic outlook on things, you know, I think that a lot of the deal flow that maybe didn't happen in 25, we're going to see a bit of pent up demand in the first quarter through the first half of 26. I think that people will start to have that mentality, and we're hearing it a little bit already, where, you know, you can't just keep sitting on the sidelines. There, you know, you're losing opportunities, you're losing traction, and sometimes you'd have to kind of take that leap and decide to get back into the fray. And we're seeing an increase in the number of deals in our pipeline. We're seeing a lot more engagement and demand to close those transactions in a much shorter time frame. So those are, you know, that's giving us that optimism coming into 26. You can probably jump to the next slide. I'll hand it back to you, Bob. I don't know if it's me. There we go.
All right, I will jump in then. I apologize, I did jump in, but I had myself muted. So hopefully a lot of what Tammy shared kind of resonated with the folks listening. What I'm going to do is visit a little bit about a couple deals that we saw and share kind of how we went from optimism to challenges and how we work to overcome those challenges to make a deal work. We'll also share a little bit about what do you do when you get to a point where you're not quite sure what to do with a deal. All with the hopes of sharing the challenges that we see, and maybe more so the way to get through those challenges. So this particular deal is in the oil and gas space, and this deal came in and we had a lot of excitement. I had a broker actually from the CLBA give me a call and refer this deal. I was very excited because I thought it was a deal that would move through underwriting very, very quickly. It was a deal that we understood all the moving parts from the beginning. So we really thought we understood the need. It was a great fit. We were excited about it, so there was momentum to get going. And of course, after we got started, then some challenges showed up. And the first challenge was some UCCs. And when we saw those UCCs, of course, we had UCCs that should have been just for, say, a piece of equipment or property, but it's filed on either a blanket or it's filed on other things such as AR. So you have to go through extra work to clear those things up and make it work. Of course, then you run into the challenges of if the UCC holders are responsive. Many of us nowadays use a third party for doing that, so we need to reach out through a third party. So as you can see, some of these challenges in those first couple with the UCCs can really make you feel like you're not trying hard enough, because you can reach out and try, and then you have to wait. So it's really a wonderful time for the brokers and the lenders to be able to be in very good communication with the prospects so they understand why that may take a minute. If a subordination has delays, it's not necessarily something that's going to kill a deal. It can simply be something where it takes longer to get the subordination. However, it can also be something that we can work through while we're waiting for that subordination. So in other words, if the deal is encumbered with a UCC filing that is just a fraction of the size of the AR, there's different things we can do to work through it. We actually just had a deal today that was approved and is getting contracts. And in that particular one, we weren't able to get all those subordinations on time. However, the client needs cash and needs to move forward to get busy. So what we're doing is we just modify maybe the advance rate or something so that we can start funding right away, rather than having to wait what could be days, and depending what you're trying to get a subordination for, it could be a month or more. So it's always great to have those things where you can take a look at and make some adjustments to be able to continue to move forward while you're working on challenges. Brock, if you'd like to jump to the next one. Deal number 2 is very, very similar, although it's a little bit of the same thing. And what I mean by that is this deal as well, we came into with a lot of optimism, and we're excited to have this particular deal brought to us. And we got to work on it. They gave us information. We thought we had everything. And what we found is that the owner of this particular company had taken out some MCAs. And this gentleman was very, very open and honest with both the broker and myself that the MCAs were there. However, where the shock came in is that when we went to pull the UCC searches, we found out that many of these MCAs had been paid off but not terminated. So we have to go through the process of getting in touch with them and getting either an okay for us to terminate or for them to terminate. In the middle of that process, we did find where one wasn't quite paid off, which was a shock to the owner. He wasn't aware of that. So we work with people during the challenges to be able to make sure their companies are set up properly, but also so they know their numbers and know where they're at. And while doing that, with the due diligence that has come up, we see other issues pop up. And of course, that brings us to more due diligence time and more questions. And when that happens, sometimes you lose the attention of the prospect. And that's where the relationship between the lender and the broker can really pay dividends tenfold. And the reason for that is just as it says there, where the timelines got stretched and then the urgency fades. That's when we need to really have great communication and work together with the prospects, because none of these issues or challenges may kill a deal for either of us or for the prospect. However, put all together, they may feel like it's a mountain that just can't be overcome. And the communication is the key there. The communication for the lender to the broker to the borrower, but more importantly, for all of us to be on the same page and to be able to all know where we're at, but equally as important, what we do to work through the challenges and still be able to do the deal. With that, I'll jump over and turn number 1 over to Tammy to visit a little bit about.
So I think those are really good points, Bob. You know, I wish there were deals that were perfect, but just like everything else, there's no such a thing as the perfect deal. And I think you highlighted, you know, some of the kind of usual problems that we can encounter, and they're not at all insurmountable. They're just challenges. And sometimes, you know, you can certainly get to a situation where that borrower feels like there's just one too many questions, or 5 too many questions, or 10 too many problems. And I think that's where a really good and close relationship between the referral source, the broker, and that lender really makes a big difference. Because you can, as a lender, have a very direct and honest conversation with somebody that you know well, that broker, about the problems and the issues. And also have that proactive discussion about how you can work together to mitigate or fix them. And it's, you know, the difference between a deal issue and a deal killer, and really being able to identify those as early as possible. And in either instance, have a really, really good conversation about how you're going to work it out together, or how you're going to deliver the news together. So I think identifying whether it's a deal that still makes sense, no matter what, if there's a problem or an issue, making sure that you have alignment and have that discussion, because the broker wants that borrower to be engaged. And I think that that's the fundamental value, is being able to have the tougher conversations maybe with the broker, so that you together can go and have positive and effectual conversations with that ultimate borrower. And at the end of the day, clarity and showing everybody in all the stakeholders in the opportunity, whether it's the borrower, the broker, or the lender, being clear about exactly what needs to happen to be able to move forward, and give very clear steps or directions on what needs to happen next. And I think fundamentally working as a tag team between the borrower, between the lender and the broker, that's really a powerful combination. Oops, I think we still have some to cover on that last page, Brock.
Thank you, Tammy. Thanks, Brock. We are doing things just a little bit different on this particular slide, because normally when we do these webinars, Tammy would handle a slide and I would handle one, and so on and so forth. But when we visited yesterday in regards to this slide, we chose that we would do the handoff right after number 1. And the reason is very, very simple. Number 2 and number 3 are about what do you do when a deal isn't going right? It isn't moving forward. Maybe it's questions, maybe it's problems, maybe it's we're missing information. It could be one of anything. But the reason why Tammy and I chose to hand it off here is because number 2 and number 3 are something that I have throughout my entire career been challenged with. And over the course of the last, say, 15 to 18 years, focused on factoring and the other things that we offer around factoring, when to step back or when to say no has always been my biggest challenge. And the reason for that is very, very simple. I want to be able to help everyone. And one of the things that we as brokers and we as lenders can really learn from each other is that not one of us can do everything. However, we need to look at the information and have great communication to be able to make sure that the prospect isn't sitting in one place when it's not going to be closed and not going to be a nice yes for them, but yet to have the conversations with that prospect and the lender broker as to when is that time. Is it time to find a lender that specializes in what they do? Is it time to just simply say, we are not a good fit? And when is the time for that to happen? When have we tried everything we can? My entire career, I have been taught that a quick no is better than a long drug out no that makes everybody wait. And I firmly believe that, and the longer I've been in my career, the more I see it. So what I feel is very important to discuss when it comes to number 2 and number 3 here is going back to what I said on the previous slide of the communication between the broker and the lender. So we're always on the same page. What is the biggest issues? What deadlines are being missed? Are the issues that are the biggest or the most important issues that need to be corrected, can they be corrected? And can they be corrected in a time span that is advantageous for the prospect? So really for me, it comes down to communication. I firmly believe that a quick no is better than a drug on no, so everyone can move on. However, I do feel that this needs to come through communication, because if the prospect doesn't have the urgency or the accountability for getting us information, or if the prospect just simply does not have time to deal with whatever the issues are, we're much better to have conversation and put them where they need to be. And I think that is something that is hard to learn, because we all feel that all business should be written for ourselves. But the biggest thing here is to know when no is the right answer. And like I said, it's something that I've struggled with. And the biggest thing that I want to share with the group is that it really shouldn't have been something that I struggled with. What it should have been was something that I just had more conversations with the brokers on. And I believe that is the biggest thing that over the course of the last few years with the CLBA that we have put out there on the street as an education, is there's lots and lots of fundamental things between a broker, a lender, and a prospect to get the deal done, and to be able to all collect our fees and help people. But I believe it all starts with that communication. So these issues, I believe that is the biggest outcome and the biggest thing that I can pass on as a learning experience. I think we are ready for the next one. On this one, I guess the biggest thing that I would like to do before we open it up for questions is just share a couple things in regards to us being a lender and the CLBA being the platform that joins us all to be able to help people. I just want to share that in our business, we work with lots of brokers. It's our preferred way to do business. We enjoy working with brokers and all of the different conversations and things that they help us with when it comes to the relationships with prospects. I'm a firm believer that both the lender and the prospect have, when they have a good working relationship, that the prospects see that and things move much slower. There's always, or excuse me, things move much faster as far as collecting materials, getting a good deal into underwriting, and more importantly, closing the deal for people. So to share what we do to do our best to enhance that is that we do stack commissions. So in other words, you do get paid a commission on just the factoring transaction. And our commissions on that range from 10 to 15%. And generally, the determination if you get 15% or you get 10% does not come by who you are, but more importantly on the deal itself and the yield of the deal. And the reason I say it that way, which is a bit abnormal, is because I want to pay the brokers as much as possible. So if I give you a range of 10 to 15 and say that every time I can do a 15, you're going to get it. However, if I can only price a deal to where I can only give 10 or 12, then what I make as a promise to my brokers is that you and I will visit ourselves, where you have a decision in that as well as myself. If you feel you want to take 10 to be able to do the deal versus a 15 at a rate where we may not get the deal. So as you can see, we love for our brokers to be a part of that discussion. Last but not least, in the stackable commissions, we do a lot of over advances. We do small equipment loans for equipment that are put in the system as over advances. We do other things for our clients, from fuel cards to software to other lending instruments. And the stackable commission can be where you could get anywhere from 2, 3, up to 4, 5 different streams of income on one given client. So that is the reason why we call it stackable commissions. And our entire outlook on that is we want to pay as much as we can and still be in business and be viable. So the brokers are a huge part of what we're doing, and we appreciate you very much. With that, Scott, you can open it up for any questions.
Sorry, I was on mute. That was me. That was all me. What are the industries? What are some of the industries that are most promising for factoring right now?
You know, that's a great question. And the reason it's really a great question is because I feel that with the changes to factoring and a lot of the traditional factoring contracts being more open-ended, more flexible, more pick and choose, more things of that nature, that list is ever expanding of what could be a good factoring industry. However, right now, I would say the hottest is probably staffing, manufacturing, and oil and gas.
Okay, great.
We do all of those, and what I can tell you is that I have had half a dozen staffing prospects just kind of in the wings, waiting to see what would happen with our political climate, etc. And they're all excited now and ready to move. Oil and gas, I have a portfolio full of clients that were all doing okay, but just kind of hanging in there. And now the credit requests and the rampant hiring by those clients to be able to ramp up is unprecedented almost. If you go and look on either LinkedIn or Facebook groups in the oil and gas sections, all of the companies are out there advertising for drivers, for trucks, for 1099s. So I feel that even though I would like to answer that those three are the best, I will say that it's ever expanding, and it appears the world is really opening up at the moment.
Excellent, excellent. And you mentioned some equipment financing, and maybe, and if I misheard you, maybe a small ticket financing for equipment. Is that going to be related to, a factoring project or a factoring deal or a transportation deal or something like that? It's not a standalone?
It can, but it doesn't have to. And what I mean by that is this. We virtually have two programs. We don't really talk about it that way in-house, but we really do. And what I mean by that is this. Garrington offers just an incredible equipment program. However, it's generally big ticket, anywhere from $1 million to say 30, 40 million. Whereas when I'm doing my factoring, most of the people that come to me that are my clients, they're looking for equipment quick and generally between 100,000 and $1 million, where Garrington would respond and say that's a little small for us. Whereas my response is, if you're a factoring client, it's perfect for me and we'd love to do those things. let's dig in and take a look.
Right.
I might
Very
just
good.
jump
I
in
love that.
there. Might just jump in, Scott, and just add on to Bob's comments. Certainly, factoring clients oftentimes have, particularly in the service industry, they have a need where they've been renting a piece of equipment, and they see demand increasing for that kind of work. And it makes sense for them to actually go then and purchase a used piece of equipment to fill that need. We love to be able to help in those instances, and we can do that very quickly on kind of that one-off basis. And that's a great adjunct to what Bob and his team focus on. On the asset-based lending side, as you know, we are an equipment lender as well. So we'll, as Bob put it very well, we lend on equipment. We're best suited to do that in the used equipment space, and where we're financing about $1 million or higher. But like Bob on the asset-based lending side, where we have a total suite of facilities. So if we're lending to a client and we're providing financing on receivables, for instance, where we're not factoring but we're lending, or where we're lending on receivables and inventory, we'll do smaller transactions on the equipment side. We're happy to do that. We're looking for facilities that are kind of that $1 million and up on a combined basis. So if that's, it doesn't have to be big for one type of lending. It can be combined receivables, inventory, and equipment, and lend $1 million and up from there as well.
Perfect. Excellent. And here's a great question. I mean, I know the Garrington family of companies, there's a lot of companies under that umbrella. What is your competitive advantage versus other funding sources in the space? And that might not be a fair question because you have so many different companies under the umbrella. Maybe you want to just pick a couple of the companies that that might be pertinent to our brokers on the phone, and just give the competitive advantages versus the competitive advantage versus your competitors that are out there.
I'll try. I'll start, and Bob can clean up for me. Primarily, I think you hit the nail on the head. We like to think of ourselves as kind of a one-stop lender. So if somebody has a need for equipment lending, yes, we can take that in. If they need, factoring plus some equipment, or factoring plus some inventory, we can do that. If you're looking for a loan against receivables, inventory, and equipment, we can do that. So it's certainly having the ability to be flexible on the type of collateral that gets the client the loan that they need. I think that's certainly a competitive advantage. I also, and this sounds a little bit strange, but we take a lot of time at the very beginning to listen to the prospect about what they need, why they need it, how our money is actually going to transform or help their business, and then take that information and craft a term sheet that meets that need, that answers those questions. So we're not really good at having kind of one call, I need a $10 million facility. Okay, here's a term sheet. Sign it back, give us some money, and then we'll figure out if we can help you. And that comes back to, if we don't think we can help, we're going to tell you right out the gate. We're even going to maybe recommend somewhere else you can go. We do that quite often. But what we don't like to do is guess at whether or not we can help and then find out a week later or 2 weeks later that we can't, after we spent a lot of time and energy. And that comes back to a fast no is better than a slow maybe. And if we're issuing a term sheet, it's because we believe we can execute and close that transaction, and then we're working very collaboratively to do that. I don't know if that's a fair answer, but that talks about who we are.
No, I think that's a fantastic answer. And again, like I said, I preface it was, I know it's not fair, but you got a lot of companies. I just wanted you to just throw some advantages out there versus what's going on in the marketplace. But no, I truly appreciate that, and that was amazing. That was great. I have another great question for you. Go ahead, Bob.
I would just, if it's okay with you and the timeline and our listeners, I would just as soon share a moment of the competitive advantage on the Baker Garrington side.
Yeah, please do.
I believe it's slightly different because on the Baker Garrington side, we focus primarily on factoring as our number one. And looking at it that way, some of the things that asset-based lenders and so on, things that they have to look at, I may not, which is a weird way to say it when I work with Tammy and do ABL as well. But coming from a factoring standpoint, it's I don't know how many of the listeners were at the CLBA in the last 2 years, but I have a story that I've shared, and I don't want to wear that out. However, where the crux of the story comes in is that I used a factoring company many, many moons ago when my wife and I were young and just getting started. And it was a dismal experience, to say the least. And because of that dismal experience is the reason I'm in this industry. And before I bought into Liquid Capital, which is one of the companies under under Garrington, I did a lot of research to make sure that I could run the factoring company the way that I chose to, based on the experience that I had. And really what that comes down to is flexibility and structure. So in the first visit that I have with people, I like to learn when their biggest customers pay, kind of how that cash flow of paper and money works when they invoice and when they get paid. Because what I like to do is structure it so it's the most beneficial to them. So in other words, where the flexibility comes in is we can structure a 15-day fee or a 30-day fee or a 40-day fee. We can do a block of 15 days and then a daily rate. We can do a 30-day block and then a daily rate, whatever is the best outcome for the prospect. And what we do above and beyond that, that really is what I feel makes us different, is that we work with our clients on how to use factoring. So in other words, very few businesses ever need to use factoring 100% of the time for 100% of their invoices. However, many businesses could do a wonderful job of growing quicker, easier, faster, with less frustration if they have a factoring facility early on that they can use when they need it. And what I mean by that is, if this month all you have is your normal work, then only factor enough for your obligations. But if you get a call and you're awarded more work and you need more mobilization, more people, more staff, more equipment, now you can factor everything. So it's the flexibility to be able to make that choice in your office that is truly the biggest difference, because you can cut your financing costs in half by just having that flexibility to be able to use it properly.
Love that. That's great. That's fantastic. 2 more questions for you. It's okay if we go a little over, if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
Are you focused on any specific geographic area in the U.S.?
No. We are open for business from east to west coast.
Excellent.
And north to south as well as Canada.
Perfect. Excellent. Very good. And then I have a gentleman who's new in the commercial finance industry and wants to better understand invoice factoring. I'm going to bring Michael on because it'd be better, I think, to have a live conversation with him opposed to me just kind of reading through the notes that he put together. Michael, are you out there? You're on self-mute, sir. There he is. How are you, sir?
I'm here, Scotty. I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Long time no chat. How have you been? Everything good?
Been okay. I've avoided the play better this week. Excuse me.
Excellent. And meet Bob and Tammy. I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you kind of ask your questions and get to know these folks.
Sure. Yeah. So first, thanks, Bob, Tammy, for putting this on. I'm just, again, I'm new to the commercial finance industry and I want to better understand invoice factoring from a practical sales perspective. So, for example, when speaking with manufacturing prospects, like what would a clear 30-second pitch sound like to introduce the key advantages of factoring compared to maybe the more traditional finance methods they may already be using? And additionally, in your experience, do you think, like, do most manufacturers already understand and consider factoring, or is there still a relatively low level of awareness around its benefits?
I can jump in. I was kind of being patient to see if Tammy would jump in, but I'm happy to. Very nice to meet you, sir. And thank you for the questions. To be honest, for me, I do believe that most or many manufacturers have it on their radar as an option. What I do also feel in conjunction with that is that there's a portion of those that don't know that factoring can be used as flexible and under your choice of how often and how much to use. I feel that part of it, they may not all know. Because traditionally, factoring did carry different rules that were that did not allow it to be managed within the prospect's office. Whereas now we're making the product much more flexible and friendly to where you can do that. My pitch to those manufacturers is pretty simple. I visit about the contracts and their ability to be able to use it as they want, when they want. But I also visit with them about how they can scale up and scale down when they, as their business does and their orders in manufacturing do. And that's where the start and stop really comes in as a benefit to them, regardless if they're seasonal or if their business just is busier at certain times of the year than others. The other part of it is very, very simple, and that is simply that factoring is not debt. So it is not debt on their balance sheet. So there could be any number of reasons that you don't want a lot of debt on your balance sheet. Debt on your balance sheet for growth can be good and it can be bad. Whereas with factoring, you get that cash flow from your receivables, but it's not debt. You're actually selling it. So that carries a good number of things on a balance sheet that companies may be looking for. In addition to it not being debt is that factors don't take equity. So you retain all the ownership in your company. There's dozens of more things that I could share with you that I would share with that manufacturer. What I would offer out to you is something that I do a lot, and that is reach out to me and let me know some times that work for you, and I would be happy to have a little bit more of a conversation, more tailored right to your business and kind of how you're going to sell and who you're going to sell to. I'm happy to do that for you so you understand the product a little better and the good and bad ways to sell it.
That's excellent. Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate that. I'll be reaching out to you for sure.
Thank you. Wonderful. Tammy, if you have anything else to share that I may have missed, by all means, jump in.
No, it's terrific, Bob.
I got one more question for you guys. One of the guys shot me a quick note and says, your website mentions commercial real estate. Can you please clarify what that means and how it kind of fits into your guys financing and the family of financing it may fit into or fit under?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of the one that I didn't mention, I think. So fair question. So yes, we will lend against commercial real estate, primarily in a couple of instances. The first of which is as part of a broader financing package. So if it's an owner-occupied facility where we're also lending against the receivables and the inventory, and we add on that real estate piece to make the transaction work, and that's kind of along the lines of that one-stop shopping from a lending facility perspective, we absolutely do that. We'll also do bridge financing, and that's really, we consider it a little bit more specialty, but a bridge financing on a real estate where it's a built building. It could be owner occupied, it could have renters or tenants, so it cash flows. And there's a clear exit where we're facilitating a transaction or some kind of clear exit. We'll do that as well. You might get a sense that we're very upfront about the things that we don't do. We don't do any sort of speculative real estate transactions. We don't do aggregating kind of real estate transactions. We don't do residential transactions. So yes, real estate is included in our website, but it's generally more as a part of another comprehensive financing facility.
That's I understand it. It sounds like more of a part of the ABL facility when you're looking at the receivables and the equipment or whatever may fall under that category to kind of bring everything in for a little extra money. Okay, that's cool. That was the only other question that Larry had, and it was a thank you very much with the last message that came through and from the gentleman that had that question. Okay, good. That looks like all the questions that have come through. I mean, I know we ran a little late. I appreciate you guys having patience and answering the additional questions. That's wonderful of you guys to do that. But this was a great presentation as always. I appreciate you guys coming on this afternoon and doing the presentation and answering a bunch of questions. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you as the months go on. And I think we have a couple of dates all set for the next couple of quarters too, and looking to have you guys on and do some other stuff too during the course of the year.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon. Let me know if you need anything.
Time very much.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in this afternoon. We'll be back next week for another edition of the webinar series and 2 new lenders for you guys to sit in and listen in on. Again, the webinar series is brought to you by RCN Capital, and we're looking forward to doing some more stuff with you guys over the course of the year. Have yourself a great week. If you need anything from me, my cell phone is 585-455-2985, and you all should have my email. If not, just shoot me a quick text message, and I'll get back to you with whatever you need. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.